I stood in my driveway, watching strangers carry their furniture into what was supposedly my house. My key didn't work anymore. The locks had been changed, and a several LD sign swayed gently in the December wind. Is there a problem? A man approached me, presumably the new owner. Can I help you? This is my house, I said, my voice shaking. I never sold it. He frowned, pulling out his phone. No, we bought this property legally from Harrison Development Group. I have all the paperwork right here. Harrison Development Group, my father's company. My name is Daniel Harrison, and at 35, I just discovered my father had sold my house right from under me, while I was away on a business trip. I called him immediately, my hands trembling with rage. He answered on the third ring, his voice casual as if he hadn't just made me homeless 3 days before Christmas. Ah, Daniel, I assume you're back from Chicago? What did you do? I demanded. How could you sell my house? It was a necessary business decision, he replied coolly. The property was still under Harrison Development's name. We needed the liquid assets for a new project. The house was my inheritance from Mom, you promised her. Your mother's been dead for 5 years, Daniel. Things change. Business evolves. You'll understand someday. I gripped my phone tighter, remembering the day Mom had made him promise. She'd known what kind of man he was, had insisted on putting safeguards in place to protect my inheritance. The house had been her final gift to me. Where am I supposed to go? I asked, watching another moving truck pull up. You have a perfectly good apartment in the city, he said dismissively. The one above your office? Really, Daniel? You're being dramatic. It's just business. Just business. His favorite phrase whenever he did something morally questionable. Just business when he laid off 200 employees right before Christmas last year. Just business when he bankrupted his former partner's company. Just business when he remarried 3 months after Mom's funeral. What he didn't know was that I'd spent the last year gathering evidence. Every shady deal, every manipulated contract, every illegal transaction, I had copies of everything. Mom had warned me before she died, made me promise to watch him carefully. Someone needs to stop him, she'd said, before he destroys everything we built. I'd started small, making copies of suspicious documents, recording conversations, tracking money transfers. At first, I told myself it was just insurance, protection against his business decisions. But as I uncovered more, I realized Mom had been right. He wasn't just ruthless, he was criminal. The new owner was still watching me warily. Sir, should I call the police? I forced a smile. No need. Just a misunderstanding. I'll sort it out with the development company. Back in my car, I called my best friend and legal advisor, Michael Chen. He did what? Michael's voice cracked with disbelief. Sold my house. Mom's house. Without telling me. But that's impossible. Sarah set up ironclad trusts before she died. The house was supposed to transfer directly to you on your 35th birthday. Which was last week, I said grimly. While I was in Chicago, he must have been waiting for it. Check your email, Michael said. I'm sending you something. I opened my laptop, clicking on Michael's message. Inside was a document showing a series of rapid transfers, the house's deed moving from my trust to Harrison Development, then immediately to the new owners, all within hours. He forged your signature, Michael said. Look at the transfer authorization. There it was, my signature, perfectly replicated on documents I'd never seen. He's gotten sloppy, I said, thinking of the evidence stored in my private server. He thought I wouldn't notice until it was too late. What are you going to do? I stared at the COLD sign, at the family unknowingly moving into a fraudulently acquired house. Dad had finally gone too far. Remember those files I've been collecting? I asked. I think it's time to show them to the board. Daniel, wait, Michael cautioned. Your father's partners. They're not exactly ethical pillars themselves. What makes you think they'll care? Because I smiled grimly. The evidence shows he's been stealing from them too. Millions in misappropriated funds, false projects, hidden accounts. Mom helped me track it all before she died. The line went quiet. Finally, Michael spoke. The board meeting is tomorrow. Their annual Christmas gathering. Perfect timing, I said, starting my car. Time to give Dad a Christmas surprise of his own. I drove to my office apartment, the one Dad had so dismissively mentioned. He had no idea that this small space housed enough evidence to destroy not just him, but his entire corrupt empire. Mom had always said he underestimated me, saw me as the soft-hearted son who cared too much about people. She was right about that too. I did care about people, which is exactly why I had to stop him. The Christmas lights of downtown blinked around me as I parked, reflecting off the Harrison Development building's glass facade. Tomorrow, everything would change. Dad was about to learn that just business could work both ways. The Harrison Development Group's annual Christmas board meeting was always a spectacle. Crystal champagne flutes, expensive cigars, and self-congratulatory speeches about another successful year. I'd attended these meetings since I was old enough to wear a suit, always playing the role of the dutiful son. But not this year. I arrived early, setting up my laptop and connecting it to the conference room's presentation system. My father's secretary, Linda, watched me curiously. "The presentation isn't until 2 p.m., she said. "Your father likes to do the fiscal review first." "There's been a change of plans," I replied, not looking up from my screen. The board members started arriving around 9 a.m. I recognized them all, men and women who'd watched me grow up, who'd attended my mother's funeral with practiced sad faces while already knowing about Dad's plans to restructure the company in her absence. My father walked in last, as always, flanked by his new wife, Stephanie, who also served as our CFO. The irony of him marrying our financial officer 3 months after Mom's death wasn't lost on anyone. "Daniel," he nodded curtly, "I trust you've gotten over your emotional response to yesterday's business decision?" Before I could answer, Marcus Bennett, our largest stakeholder, cleared his throat. "What business decision?" "Just a property liquidation," Dad waved dismissively. "Nothing that concerns the board." "Actually," I stood up, clicking my laptop to life, "it concerns everyone in this room." The projector hummed to life, displaying a series of financial documents on the screen. Dad's smile faltered slightly. "Daniel, we have an agenda to follow." "Yes, we do," I cut him off. "Let's start with Project Phoenix." Stephanie sat up straighter. "That's confidential." "You mean the fake development project you've been using to funnel money into offshore accounts?" I clicked to the next slide. "These accounts, specifically." The room went silent. On the screen, clear as day, were transfer records showing millions moving through a series of shell companies, all leading back to private accounts in the Cayman Islands. "Or should we discuss the Wilson contract?" Another click. "Where you sold properties you didn't own, including my house, which was held in a private trust." "That's enough." Dad slammed his hand on the table. "This is ridiculous. Marcus, we don't have time for—" "Actually, Richard," Marcus leaned forward, studying the screen, "I think we need to make time for this. Especially since I'm seeing my investment properties listed in these transfers." I turned to the board members. "For the past year, I've been tracking every illegal transaction, every falsified document, every penny stolen from this company and its investors. My mother started this investigation before she died, and I finished it." "You're betraying your family," Stephanie hissed. "No," I replied calmly. "I'm honoring my mother's last wish to protect what she and my father built together before he corrupted it." I distributed USB drives to each board member. "Everything is here, documented, verified, and copied to multiple secure locations. Dad didn't just steal my house yesterday. He's been stealing from all of you for years." Marcus was already scrolling through the files on his laptop, his face darkening. "Richard, these transactions, using my properties as collateral for personal loans? It's not what it looks like," Dad started, but another board member cut in. "My retirement fund, you emptied it." "The Davidson project was real," Dad insisted. "It just needed more capital." "The Davidson project never existed," I said quietly. "It was a shell, just like Phoenix, just like all the others. Right, Stephanie?" She wouldn't meet my eyes. She knew I had her too. Her signatures were on half these documents. "I can explain everything." Dad stood up, trying to regain control. "Daniel is clearly upset about the house situation. He's trying to manipulate. Like you manipulated Mom's trust." I clicked to the final slide. "This is from yesterday. Security footage showing you entering the trust lawyer's office with a forged power of attorney, transferring my house to the company illegally." The footage played silently. My father, confident and smiling, handling documents he had no right to touch. The timestamp confirmed everything. 3 months after the board meeting, I stood in front of my house, my real house, watching the movers bring my furniture back in. The legal battles had been swift and decisive. With overwhelming evidence of fraud, the property sale was invalidated, and the innocent family who bought it was compensated with a better property from the company's legitimate holdings. Marcus appeared beside me, hands in his pockets. The last of the audits came in this morning, he said. Your father and Stephanie managed to embezzle over $40 million in the past 5 years alone. I nodded, unsurprised. And the charges? The DA is proceeding with everything. Fraud, embezzlement, forgery. They're looking at significant time. He paused. Your father's asking to see you. No. I've been firm about this since his arrest. He made his choices. Inside the house, everything was exactly as I'd left it. Mom's paintings still hung on the walls, her garden visible through the windows. She'd known this day might come, had prepared me for it in ways I hadn't even realized until now. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Turn on the news. I flicked on the TV to see my father being led into court, Stephanie following behind. The headlines scrolled. Harrison Development Scandal. CEO and CFO face federal charges. The company's stock is actually up, Marcus noted, watching with me. Market likes how you handled this. Clean break, full transparency, immediate reforms. It was true. After the initial shock, Harrison Development had emerged stronger. I'd implemented the changes Mom had outlined in her files. Ethical investment strategies, employee protections, community development projects. The board had unanimously backed my vision. Your mother would be proud, Marcus said quietly. A memory surfaced. Mom in her study, teaching me about business ethics when I was just a teenager. Money isn't everything, Daniel, she'd said. Legacy is about more than profit margins. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Linda, Dad's former secretary, found something you should see. An hour later, I sat in my mother's old office, now mine, looking at the document Linda had discovered. It was dated just weeks before Mom's death, a letter she'd written to me. My dearest Daniel, if you're reading this, then you've done what I couldn't. You've stopped your father's corruption. I'm sorry I had to leave this burden to you, but I always knew you were stronger than anyone realized, especially him. The evidence I've gathered is only part of the story. The real test will be what you build from the ashes. Your father taught you how to make money, but I hope I taught you how to make a difference. The company was built on your grandfather's dream of creating homes and opportunities for people. Remember that legacy as you move forward. And remember that I'm with you always. Love, Mom. I wiped my eyes, carefully folding the letter. Outside my office, I could hear the busy sounds of the company moving forward, phones ringing, people talking, life continuing. Marcus knocked on my door. Board's ready for your presentation on the new community housing initiative. I gathered my papers, including the proposals for affordable housing developments and small business support programs. Mom's true legacy. Oh, and Daniel? Marcus added. The family you helped relocate? The father called, wanted to thank you personally. Said it was the first time he'd seen real corporate integrity in action. I smiled, thinking of Mom's words about legacy. Schedule some time for me to meet with them next week. I want to hear their ideas about what the community needs. As I walked into the boardroom, I caught my reflection in the window. I saw Mom's determination in my eyes, but also something she'd given me that Dad never had, compassion. The headlines would fade. Dad and Stephanie would face justice, but the real story wasn't about scandal or revenge. It was about rebuilding, about transforming a corrupt empire into something that actually helped people. Ready to begin? Marcus asked as the board settled in. I looked around the table at the faces that had once deferred to my father's greed, now looking to me for a different kind of leadership. Yes, I said, opening my presentation. Let's talk about the future. The winter sun streamed through the windows, casting long shadows across the boardroom. Outside, the city stretched before us, a city where people would soon find homes they could afford, opportunities they deserved, all because my mother had taught me that business wasn't just about profit. It was about purpose. And as I began my presentation, I could almost feel Mom smiling, knowing that her final business decision, trusting me to make things right, had been her best one yet. You always said it was just business, Dad, I said into the stunned silence. Well, this is business too. Marcus stood up slowly. Richard, I think you need to step out while the board discusses this situation. Stephanie too. You can't be serious. Dad laughed, but it sounded hollow. I built this company. And now you've destroyed it. Marcus cut in. Security will escort you both to your offices. Don't remove anything. Don't touch any files. Just wait. As security led them out, Dad turned to me one last time. I gave you everything, he spat. This is how you repay me? I thought of Mom, of her final days spent gathering evidence, preparing me for this moment. No, Dad, Mom gave me everything, including the strength to stop you. The door closed behind them, leaving me with the board. Marcus looked at me over his glasses. Well, Daniel, it seems we have a lot to discuss, starting with your vision for the company's future. I sat down at the head of the table, my father's chair, and began to outline how we would rebuild Harrison Development Group, this time with integrity at its core.